Hello, Anthony here, and today, guys, is a very special day. The LEGO Simpsons Krusty Burger has been officially revealed. We have done it. We have actually done it, and we are seeing it with our own eyes. The LEGO Simpsons Krusty Burger is really happening on June 4th. Well, technically June 1st to the 3rd for insider members, but June 4th for the entire public. I just want to thank all of you guys for making this set real. For the past 5 years, we have been campaigning, wanting the LEGO Simpsons Krusty Burger to become a real LEGO set. It is just amazing that I have made this community that has pushed forward the idea of bringing back LEGO The Simpsons, more specifically with another LEGO Simpsons set. And this right here concludes my theory that I brought back the LEGO Simpsons theme. Because LEGO would have made the Simpsons house, if this were to have been entirely a coincidence, LEGO would have started with making the Simpsons house all over again as a remake. Because since 2014, the LEGO community has grown so much, and now I'm hearing so many people, so many fans of LEGO say that, oh, I missed out on the Simpsons house, I would really want to buy that set, but with it going for such high amounts on the secondhand markets, it doesn't seem very reasonable for me to purchase. And that makes sense, that's a very valid argument. So you would expect that LEGO would have made the Simpsons house once again first to satisfy all of those new fans of the theme. But instead, we are seeing the Krusty Burger, which the Krusty Burger, just in-universe speaking in the Simpsons world, is a much more if you know kind of situation, to where you just have to watch The Simpsons and at least, be familiar with the Simpsons world to then want to purchase the Krusty Burger. So it just doesn't make sense to reintroduce a LEGO theme starting with the Krusty Burger when the Simpsons house would be far more popular and therefore, be so much more successful. Why would they start with the Krusty Burger? The only explanation? My LEGO Ideas project that reached 10,000 supporters twice, and finally, LEGO has done it. They have made my idea a reality, but just with their own concepts, which, if we would have collaborated on this, in my opinion, this LEGO set would have looked even better. But regardless, the Krusty Burger is here, and it's now history. So now let's talk about the set itself. Its number is going to be 10352 with 1,635 pieces, and will retail for less than what we expected. Originally it was rumored for $230 USD, but now it is turning out that it's going to be $210 USD, which is very much welcomed. Upon first glance of the build itself, I feel like it does look a little bit underwhelming. Especially comparing it to the predecessors of the Quickie Mart and Simpsons house that the true, very long-time LEGO Simpsons fans would have. Putting it next to those two sets, this would feel a bit small. And I feel like it would fall very much in the same category as the X Mansion, where, if you were to put the Avengers Tower, X Mansion next to it, and the Daily Bugle, the contrast would be very noticeable and you would have like this much smaller building. And the main reason I feel like that this is the case, as I mentioned in my last video talking about the Krusty Burger, is it's just licensing. Disney just wants a large cut of the percentage from the set, and that percentage really takes away a lot of the amount of parts that the set could actually have, and therefore makes a very downscaled model, instead of having a much more fuller, larger set for that $210 price tag. The exterior of the Krusty Burger, in my opinion, is a bit lacking, to where it feels a bit unpolished and unfinished. I feel like the Quickie Mart was on the right track in terms of this. We can relate to that a lot more because it has a similar architectural style. But basically with the Quickie Mart, everything just felt more complete and more refined and perfected. However, with this Krusty Burger, you have more of like imperfections such as the walls, to where we can see that the first couple of layers are medium nougat, and then we transition up into a tan color, which I feel like, in my opinion, the whole wall in general should have been tan. But for the sake of the argument, let's say that, okay, fine, let's do medium nougat for the first couple of layers, because, it changes things up and really differentiates the color palette between the Simpsons house and the Quickie Mart. It all works up until the wall in the back, to where if you were to flip the model around, you have the wall in the back that is completely tan. And that is done to incorporate a lot more of the stickers and all of the very nice references to other Simpson episodes, and I have to give huge props to the graphic designers because I think that is a great little thing that they managed to incorporate into the build. However, at the expense of that, you now have to get rid of all of that medium nougat because then you can't add those panels to attach those stickers onto those larger Lego pieces. And so, in my opinion, it kind of falls apart in the back, and now you have like this three-sided building that has these medium nougat wall designs, and then the back has tan, and it just feels inconsistent. It doesn't feel very much like a consistent design all the way throughout the entire build. Or if they really wanted to make this stand out and differentiate from the Simpsons house, which is also tan, they could have just went with light nougat, which, yes, you would probably need to introduce a few new pieces in new colors, which would raise the price even higher. However, I could see this being worth it, as the final model would look so much more nicer and so much more cleaner. And it would also look more accurate to what the Krusty Burger actually looks like in-universe. The bushes are approached neatly, but I would switch up some of the tile placements. I feel like I'm picking at the very small details. The orange window outline is not a perfect rectangle, and that's quite distracting. Also, the windows should have had a light blue tint to them, as that would have been more accurate to what the show had. But I do like the lavender color mixed into the frames. The same can be said about the drive-through window. However, I like the more simplistic approach to using a normal window piece compared to my design, which required pieces that didn't exist in the necessary colors. Something looks a bit off about the Krusty face on the drive-through menu. Interestingly enough, it is accurate to how it should look. And then a bit off to the side, you also have like this grease outlet, very nice reference to the Krusty Burger. The only other thing that I'm not a very big fan of with the Krusty Burger is the pavement, to where the pavement is only extruding 2 studs from the build. Unlike where with the Quickie Mart we had 4 studs, and it felt more complete. Another reason it felt more complete is also because we had a tiled finish on top of that, and the Krusty Burger is also lacking that, which makes the build feel a little bit less, not only less complete, but also less very much in the same style as the Quickie Mart. But other than that, all the other exterior details are well made. Next up, we are moving into the interior of the Krusty Burger. And I feel like it is really in the interior that things really start to solidify, and we can see the value of the sets a lot more. Looking at the interior first from a bird's eye view, we can see that the layout is slightly altered from what my original submission had, to where now we are seeing that the bathroom and place where you order your burger is switched. The way how I designed my layout was by matching up the best and most well-known reference material. There are so many Krusty Burgers in Springfield, it is a chain restaurant, and the possibilities of how this restaurant may look like from this restaurant is different. There's no individual idea and concept of that layout, but also because it depends upon the episode and the scenario and requirements of that episode, and how should this room be positioned for this to work or for that to work. So in general, the layout of the Krusty Burger is interchangeable, and this is an acceptable layout. To get better access into the interior, you would open up the side of the build, interestingly enough. Because originally with the Quickie Mart, and again I'm referencing it because you would have a very similar architectural style, but with the Quickie Mart you can just open up the back of it and you would have access into the interior. similar with how my Krusty Burger was made. However, this build has a little bit more of a different approach to where you open it from the side, and I do really appreciate that LEGO has went ahead and made a different variation of like that opening area. It's just original, so what can I say? It's nice. And now with better access into the interior, we can see that the interior of this Krusty Burger has a different color palette than what my original submission had. And I feel like part of that is because they just used a different episode from The Simpsons than I had. I'm pretty sure when I designed mine, I used a more modernized episode, and then they used an older one. Regardless, once again, for the sake of originality, I really do appreciate that. As goes for the furniture in the inside of the Krusty Burger, you of course have the booth, the table, the chairs, the menus, the area where you can cook the burgers, the bathroom, all of that makes sense. However, more than that, you also have a ball pit, which is a very nice and obscure little reference to one of the episodes from The Simpsons, and, you know, it's those kind of things that add value to the build. It's small, it's nice, and it just works within the context of the Krusty Burger. There's also the toilet that is leaking, which is such a nice little fun feature in the build, and again, it just adds that much more storytelling and that much more fun to the creation. And on top of all of this, you also have all of those very nice graphic design details going all the way throughout the build. Very Krusty themed in my opinion. And you also have the reference that is the 700 Krusty Burgers as the next order.
Give me 700 Krusty Burgers!
Very iconic, and the graphic designers with this LEGO set in general blew it out of the park. However, as pointed out by New Elementary, who has had a chance to get the set early, we can see that there are over 40 stickers. 40 included in this set. That's rough. I wish there were more prints. Next up we have the Krusty sign, which is well built and has some very good parts usage, also some new part recolors. My only critique would be the incomplete back, which should have had the same design that is on the front, copy and pasted over to the back. And then as the other sub-assembly off on the side, we have the clown car, a very obscure reference from one of the Simpson episodes, and I really like it. It follows in the very same footsteps as the Simpsons police car, and more so like the Simpsons family car, as it's basically that car, just disguised. The minifigures in the set, hands down amazing. Like, what has been included here is great. We have, obviously, the 3 repeating characters, which are Lisa, Bart, and Homer, and Homer has a new torso with like a ribwitch stain on it, which, again, a very nice reference to one of the Simpson episodes, and I really appreciate LEGO for adding that into the build. But you also have the new characters of Springfield, most notably of which we have Sideshow Bob, a very violent character within the Simpsons world, and I am very surprised that LEGO has went ahead and made him into an official LEGO minifigure. His hair does look a bit squished from a profile view, however, regardless, getting a LEGO Sideshow Bob official minifigure? Phenomenal. We are seeing Squeaky Voice Teen for the first time with a molded head, which we've seen the original first rendition of him back in the LEGO Dimensions video game, and now seeing him as a physical minifigure is also great. We are getting Police Officer Lou for the first time, which is a very great addition to the entire Springfield lineup, and adds some pretty good diversity within the minifigure collection. And then finally, there is Krusty. And I would have expected the Krusty minifigure in the set to be the collectible minifigure version of him. Similar to how we had Homer, Bart, and Lisa, just add that minifigure into this lineup. However, no, we get the Mother Nature Burger farmer version of Krusty. Very unexpected, but very welcomed. There is also going to be a gift with purchase that is going to be included with the Krusty Burger if you purchase it starting from June 1st. I'm pretty sure it goes until supplies last. And it's also the first ever Simpsons gift with purchase, so that's also exciting. However, the set itself, I don't know, it's not the most exciting, because all it is it's just a very small diorama of The Simpsons living room. Yes, it includes 2, I'm pretty sure those are stickers, however I can't tell exactly, maybe they're prints and maybe these are 2 exclusive printed tiles for the TV and the painting, which if so, maybe those parts will be valued quite well on the second-hand market. Well, actually stickers also have a fair amount of value to them, but regardless, as goes for just a gift with purchase for the contents, it feels a bit lacking, because there should have been an exclusive minifigure or something included with this living room. It feels like it's incomplete. If I were to have been in charge of designing the gift with purchase for this LEGO set, this shouldn't have even been the living room at all. Instead, this should have been the steamed ham scene with Skinner and Chalmers. This is just a missed opportunity, because we have never seen Skinner and Chalmers in minifigure form before, and they have a direct tie-in with the Krusty Burger, and it is such an iconic scene that this would have been the way to introduce these minifigures. Also, the scene by itself would be so iconic, and having that window that would be looking out to the Krusty Burger with this small dining area, it would have been perfect. Like, so many more people would want to buy the LEGO set day 1 if this were to have been the steamed ham scene. Similar to how the Camino training facility was, the 3 exclusive cadets were included. Instantly made me want to buy the Jango Fett's fire spray day 1. Hopefully LEGO does take note of this, and in future gift with purchases, if we do get more Simpsons sets, which hopefully we do, we get an exclusive minifigure or something like that. And there it is, guys, the 2025 LEGO Simpsons Krusty Burger. Like I mentioned several times in this video, I am super glad that LEGO has implemented their concepts and ideas, like original concepts and ideas, into this creation, and not just, used my ideas and translated them into this official set without giving me the proper credit for it. But objectively speaking, all bias aside, and I'm a huge Simpsons fan, just objectively speaking from a LEGO set perspective, I feel like the Krusty Burger building itself could have been better from the exterior, primarily with polishing up some small details with the building. But other than that, the concepts, the references, and everything that LEGO has put into it, to the minifigures and everything, is very well executed, and I for sure will be picking this set up once it goes on sale. And I would highly recommend, if you guys do have the chance to pick this LEGO set up, please do, because this set right here, the sales of the set, will influence if LEGO will continue making more Simpsons sets later down the line. If the demand is there, we will see more Simpsons buildings to further expand the entire picture of Springfield. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this will become one of those LEGO Harry Potter themes, or Star Wars, or more recently we have Lord of the Rings. Hopefully, this kind of goes in the same vein of getting 1 or 2 sets every year. But on that note, thank you all so much for watching, keep on building, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.